Thank you
Yes,
very much
so
for joining us. We're taking an outlook on Tinubu's presidency, as well as the fuel subsidy removal announcement he made during the inauguration. So let's get this started. Bye-bye. It's a pleasure to have you on Sahara TV once again.
the pleasure is mine. It's good to be back on SR. How are you, Tops?
Great. Bye-bye is a co-convener Coalition for Revolution. He's also the co-president Geneva Global Health Hub. He's a former deputy national secretary of the Labour Party and a former national convener United Action for Democracy. Bye-bye. Let's take a deep dive into the issues at stake at this point in time. During his inauguration speech as the 16th president of Nigeria, some couple of days back, President Bola Tinubu announced the removal of fuel subsidy. This announcement has generated mixed reactions among stakeholders. What's your view on this? Some have said it's quite too early. Others have taken actions, especially the Labour declared from Wednesday a national strike. What kind of outlook are we looking at this presidency at this point in time? Your reaction, please.
Well, you've raised quite a number of questions. First and foremost, before even going into this, I want to say that I fully support the Nigerian Labour Congress in with regards to its declaration for a general strike, and we look forward to their going through with this. And because it's beyond the issue of the fuel subsidy or no fuel subsidy, which is very important. It's also important to send a message to the new administration that the power of the people is greater than the people in power, especially when you consider that Tinubu had said no matter how long a strike goes on, he was not going to heed, to the people's demands. So that's important. Now, to the removal of the subsidy, it wasn't unexpected. Actually, I started writing something where I was like, I was even thinking that probably you could have something like what Obasanjo did in 2007. I was expecting Buhari to remove it maybe a few days to 29 May. And, it's like they say that a foretold war should not kill a wise, crippled person. I think that we need to up our game, and I'm talking of the labor movement writ large, the labor movement as a whole, the labor movement and radical civil society movements, which is closely aligned to it, or to use the word often used, pro-labor civil society movement. As I've said in a couple of places, I think that we've been playing with the logic of playing drafts on a chessboard. And the ruling class are playing chess. Talking of Tinubu's presidency, what he has done is he has made it very clear that he will be a thoroughgoing representative of the interest of capital. And is going to bring hell down on working class people if need be. And the ideological situation too is important in that whilst the radical forces of change have suffered several setbacks, partly self-inflicted, in that just as I was talking about how we're playing on the chessboard of things, the articulation of our positions and the disparate struggles we wage have left gaps which the ruling class is further exploiting. As I was pointing out somewhere, that if you look at it in 2012, even before the NLC called for a strike, people were on the streets. It was actually the fight back from below that forced the NLC to call a strike. Some of those in pro-labor civil society are going to try to say that they initiated. No, it was spontaneous.
Yeah.
Just as most revolutionary movements start. The thing about organization is necessary. Organization is like a steam engine which turns the steam of simultaneous mass anger into motion for social progress. Remember, the first person to be martyred in 2012, in the January uprising in 2012, was killed on the 2nd of January at Ilorin, 1M Muritala at Post Office Junction. So, but we don't have that now, and it's partly that we have allowed, enabled, both by actions and inactions, the ruling class hegemony to override counter-hegemonic, that's to say presentation of and winning the masses to alternative formulations of alternatives and a sense of appreciation of what is to be done in fighting back.
Now, let's get this on a clearer perspective. Some have described the entire fuel subsidy as a scam. Do you agree with that notion?
Come again, please.
A lot of Nigerians have alluded to the fact that the entire fuel subsidy itself is actually a scam. Do you agree with that notion?
Nigeria itself is a scam. Nigeria itself, as what's this guy's name even sang, it was bought and sold by the disunited Queendom of Victoria and the use and condemn UAC, or is it Royal Nigeria Company? So Nigeria itself is a scam. But more seriously, it is quite true. The 60 million thereabouts liters of fuel that they say we use every day, na lie. And everybody knows it's a lie. And that's just part of it, oh. That's just part of it. Apart from this does not include the over 400,000 barrels that get missing every day. And I mean, this bunkering and not things, it's like, was it Obese that talk about carrying a cow to pass through window? You understand? These are things that are doable only because people in power are involved. In fact, these are part of projects of the Nigerian capitalism. It rests on frontier economics on one hand and different forms of patronage, both legal, even if illegitimate, like what you have with contracts, and outrightly illegal, including thefts. And what government after government have indirectly accepted is that, look, we know that our class comprises thieves. We know they have been stealing a good chunk of what we call subsidy, but we cannot catch them even when everybody can see them. Like now, see, for example, after the 2012 mass protests, occupied Nigeria, you remember the investigation that the House of Rep was doing, the Farouk Lawan or Tedola. Now, everybody forgot that the reason why Farouk Lawan had to ask Otedola for bribe was because Otedola's company was listed among those that we are claiming
subsidy
much more than what they were collecting, much more than the fuel, so that they were part of the fraud. Exactly. That was totally forgotten, and Farouk Lawan was played up like, a sacrificial lamb for the class. So why are they not catching those that are stealing the fuel and claiming also much more, they talk also much more amount than the fuel that is locally consumed. It's out of those 60 million that they are truck, because these things, these trailers, it's tankers that move them. They say that our fuel is cheaper, it goes to neighboring countries.
Yeah.
But who are the people that take them? Is it not from this 60 million? How come customs does not catch them? So there are things to point at, and all of which underscore the fact that the ruling class will make sure that the working class people bear the burden of the inefficiency, the corruption, the self-serving expansion of profit of their class, except working class people resist, fight back. That is it. And that is part of why, as I said earlier, it is important for the Nigerian Labour Congress to go through with the strike.
Now, several government regime has actually, over the years, have actually kicked against the so-called subsidy, and attempted to remove it in its entirety. And part of the arguments, especially from what we hear from the managing director of the the Nigerian National Petroleum Company at this point in time, is that the alignment of government and the realities of the law is that the government can no longer have the ability to fund subsidy, and that this the purchasing this product at a subsidized rate, they don't have the money to pay for it, and they cannot even sell the product at the market rate. So there is need for them to completely eliminate it. I mean, all these arguments, are they tenable, and how do they attempt to portray the position of the capitalists?
Very good question. One of the things that the capitalists do is like the magician's trick. They make us focus on one finger on one hand while they are doing government magic with the second hand. They make us lose sight of the wood for the trees, because the questions are much deeper than that. We need to, the issues at stake are interconnected. The issues at stake are interconnected. First is the systemic nature of capitalism. Capitalism is wired such that because of the way it is driven essentially by profit making for a few, it has a circle of booms and busts. It is in a crisis right now. It has been in crisis since 2007. And that's why some say it is a seminal crisis. It is like capitalism is in a terminal state. Unfortunately, it is not going to just die without working class people, being clear of, alternatives of what to fight for and fighting to win this. So you see, and in this period of its crisis, to the extent that it is not replaced, they in different ways make working class people bear the brunt of the crisis, of the failings of their system. Now, that's in a global note. So the extent to which any government can do much is already circumscribed, is already limited by the crisis of capitalism. But now let's come back home, because they say the devil is in the detail, and the primary detail is at home. The main enemy of each working class people is at home, as part of the interconnectedness of the ruling class globally. And that's why our struggle, even when we're fighting at home, is it's part of a broader international struggle to change this exploitative system. Before we just talk about only subsidy, let's look at revenue as a whole. Let's look at the chunk of money going to those in government and the ruling class as a whole.
Yeah.
They are saying that they don't have funds to sustain subsidy, that we have seen that a good portion is even fraudulent, but which they have not been able to stop. They haven't said anything about canceling security votes, of which a handful of people get billions every year. They haven't said anything about cutting the it's not earnings, because it is not really ends. I mean, what work are they doing? Those in the House of in the National Assembly. they are some of the most underproductive and at the same time overpaid legislators anywhere in the world. They haven't spoken about that. Hundreds of millions of naira are budgeted for just the feeding of the first family. They haven't said anything about that. There's an article by Lagunju in Tribune today, and I really love that piece, where I also pointed out that, look, in the United States, which is even the acme of capitalism. Yeah. When the first family goes on vacation, they pay from their pockets. They buy the foods they eat in the White House. It is not budgeted for it's not taken from taxpayers' money in the United States of North America. Yet they have not said anything about, and yet it was her name Tinubu's wife was telling us that our family does not need the money of Nigeria. Yeah. Why don't they start by saying that, okay, these monies we're not collecting them?
That's right.
So there are so many things to look at alongside and before the issue of quote and unquote subsidy, that people, they say that it's just to some rich people that are benefiting from subsidy, but that is also part of this magician trick, because they reduce everything to that. It is, that those that have 2-3 cars that benefit more from subsidy, but they are forgetting the multiplier effects of fuel prices. Everything goes, the transport fare for those that don't even have cars at all. Maybe they are saying that it is the rich that have more than one car. Those that don't have car, or people are paying like 300% of what they were paying this time a week and a half back to transport themselves to work and back. Impact on food, rents. It's when people want to pay rent now that the landlord, who also is having to buy things from market, you see how. So there are those multiplier effects, and we should also ask them. We should ask them one thing. Kerosene price has been deregulated.
Right.
Diesel, which is used by a lot of the trucks that carry goods, including foodstuff goods, has been deregulated. What benefit have we seen from that in terms of funding for social services for the people? So they should not call Albino Igbo for us. They should not give us Sakamaje.